1, 2, 3, 4. Hi. I don't know what you've been up to in the last, whatever it's been since I posted, 36 hours, 48 hours, something like that. But I feel like I've done some I feel like I've climbed some inner landscapes. Well, yes, ironically, probably having 2 days where I've traveled the least, farthest away from my home. Anyway, I did my birthday tax speed run yesterday, of which I'm just trying to work out what to add. Like, should I add a copy of that perpetually to the internet? There's like a version that YouTube got from what I was connected when I was streaming through YouTube, but which seemed to drop out a lot, and I don't know what it was. I haven't watched it back. And then part of me is like, just keep that live thing. I wasn't filming yesterday with the intention of it being perpetually recorded, so there might have just been a few moments in there that I was like, probably wouldn't want that recorded on the internet. But anyway, I thought I'd talk about what I learned from that experience. 8 hours of live streaming on the internet, which is one of those things where it's like, it's better, it's funner. The reason to do it is sort of, it's more fun to say I've done it than it was to do it. I'd say that same about the weight loss challenge we've talked about before. It's funner to talk about than it was to do it. And then equally, this is like, it feels funner to say that I was streaming for 8 hours on my birthday doing 11 years of tax than it was to actually do. Although it was fun to do, I had the most epic come down afterwards, which was, yes, because I'm not typically on Vyvanse, so that's one part of it. Two, I think because my previous experiences of using lisdexamphetamine in work in order to harvest productivity, and to me, it's really like a normie drug for the normie world, which I don't really want to support or kind of be a part of. But boy, does it help you be a normie. It's a real kind of like, it makes you be a super normie. So the times that I can think of where I have done it, where I've had grant deadlines or major work projects done, or just really need to power through a backlog of work, it's been incredible. But I realized too, the circumstances where I've done that, it's been very focused work that has really procedural kind of step-by-step things, which doing your tax does, but being on TikTok Live does not. They're two very different things, which is a fun game that I wanted to play anyway. But I'm just saying that because it was a very different use of a Dexy to be in performance mode. And I've never taken one and then done any performance before. Nothing on stage, camera, whatever. It's always been like work. Because I don't think of performance as normie jobs in a normie world. I think it's weird jobs for weirdos, which is perfect for me. So I was really, it was very valuable in learning, like, I don't want to do that. Again, I don't think I needed the Dexy for the performative element. And because I have such fun in playing up the kind of like tangential pathways that are thrown up in front of my focus and following those through, and because I think I am really good at balancing lots of things at once and skipping between them and coming back to them, it's not an efficient way to work, but it's a really fun way to work, and it's really energizing for me. I learnt that I wouldn't do that again with medicated. And then secondly, I just could not believe, and I'm sure there's many people watching this who have much stronger hormonal cycles, or, even chemically induced, prescription-based cycles that they're subject to. I guess like anyone on the pill would probably have some comments on this. But just how much the reality of the emotional come down at the end of the day. I went out for dinner for my birthday afterwards, and I was just such a foul, just little goblin troll. I was just awful, but I had nothing left in me. All conversation. I mean, yes, I've been talking for 8 hours straight too. That really is part of it, and probably going out for dinner was not the smartest choice. But it was not just like tired. I was actively like, ugh, just feeling yuck in my body and feeling really like soggy. The food was okay. It wasn't the greatest thing ever. Anyway, I have been sticking really well to my eating and exercise. Exercise not so much, has been quite stagnant the last 2 days, but because I have been doing a bit more, I've been starting to feel the aches and pains of muscles actually working and recovering, which I'm like, oh, it's been a while since I felt that. And eating wise, even though like yesterday going out for dinner, like obviously like no alcohol, the food was all like, there's some things are a bit creamy or whatever, but it's like objectively all fine. Objectively, it's not a packets of red frogs, okay? So we're already in improvement land. And I feel really strong about that. And I also, as mentioned on my live, was given a box of chocolates for my birthday that are those really nice like Godiva chocolates. And it was really on night one, I was like, I really want one. And then I think once I was able to grieve and say goodbye and like get over it and accept that I was not going to have one, once I accepted that, I was fine. And I'm like, okay, they're not a temptation anymore. A really weird mind flip. And I think moments like that, I'm really aware of the super cosmic intelligence and unknown mystery that is our brains and all of the magical things they can do, from literally that they already do, but also that the other potential that we can't unlock. Which brings me to my next point, most freshly resolved from weekly staff meeting with Jason today, fellow content creator and kicking goals out the wazoo at the moment. In that, I'm just going to I'm going to go to Coachella next year. 2027 Coachella, I'm coming for you. And I really like that goal because I'm detached enough from it that I'm like, I don't actively want that with all my heart as my number one thing. So I think it's got a healthy detachment. I think it's really like, it's really attainable. It's not crazy. I mean, what it would be, we're talking about 10 grand? It might need to be spent on like flights, tickets, accommodation and everything, outfits. But I also reckon I could get there on some sort of brand deal, content creation, something by then. I reckon I could be clever and strategic enough that I could make that happen. And I just think that's wacky and fun enough that like, why not? Jason's also committed, so we're in it together. And I just thought, fun. What another fun, activating little like goal. And I was thinking about how I didn't reach my 100,000 followers on TikTok goal by my birthday, and I've been a little bit like in a little bit of a annoyed, grumpy little tantrum about that. But then also, who cares? Like, what a success! And the goal, there's no magical number. That means nothing. That number means nothing. But the thing that is important to me is that I am able to build a platform where I can make fun things and share that with others, and others get to watch that and contribute and comment and create a bit of like a dialogue and conversation about even the most silly, trivial kind of little pieces of creation, and that I earn money from that. And then I remember, well, that's already happening in small ways already. And this next like part of the journey is just about scaling up this already dream life. I said to my friend Nadia the other day, you know what? I'm actually living my dream life. I'm just a few digits away from it. Like I'm literally just talking about like a little binary code. I'm just a few little digits relating to like my bank account away from my dream life. And that is insane to say. This is like, I've never felt this before in my life, this edge, this kind of stepping up, this like possibility and this hope and this just like pleasure, happiness, overwhelming gratitude. And I really, it's really wild. I mean, there's almost like some interrogation to be done about like, and then what? Like, how are we going to make sure that you've got things to work for and still to kind of keep you occupied and creative and not destructive, Kyle, once you have those extra few digits as well? And I almost feel like that's what my little kind of, we're going really down the woo-woo rabbit hole right now, I know, but just, click off at any time. I really feel like that's my little karmic thing to wrestle with at the moment, is this idea of like this time in my life is really reconciling my relationship to sacrifice, struggle, and I think just like, what does it mean to have an objective and an intention, and I feel like I know there must be stories of like, millionaires who are very restless, and lots of people who retire and then go insane because they've got nothing to do and whatever else. I just feel like I have enough things, a list of things in my life that I know I like to do and I'm good at, and that boredom doesn't really pop up very often in my life. There's so many things to get into. And I don't even think that once I hit millionaire kind of monetary value that I'm going to get bored and restless. But I think I need to be a bit more confident in saying that and be like, yeah, Kyle, you've got purpose and drive, and there's something here pulling you through regardless of what the numbers in the bank account are. And it's nice that they are, in seven figures and beyond. This is me, Kyle, speaking to you from my reflection report from Coachella 2027. But yeah, that there is something for you to work on there still, and a focus and something. And I really appreciate that in the staff meeting, and I didn't ask permission from Jason to share this, but I hope it's okay. I really appreciate that there's like that we just indulge the kind of like silly like role play of it as well. Like our last bit of our meeting just did turn into a kind of affirming like conversation, a bit like this of just like, wasn't like from a place of like lighthearted playfulness, which I think is the perfect place to manifest from, right? Rather than the like, please God, get me out of this hell. So it felt right, but also the ability to actually talk it out, and the kind of very kinesthetic things that are your mouth, lips, teeth, ears hearing, the sounds that your body is producing, the person's face reacting to that coming back at you, about the idea of like, wasn't Coachella great? It's a shame we had to leave early because we both had brand deals that we had to get back to attend to, but how great. And I just want to encourage you, don't be disappointed that this star celebrity didn't want to collaborate with you, because there's so much great in your life now that we're both earning so much money and also like from content creation, and we're able to, support other people through the money that we earn. But so remember all the good things. Don't just beat yourself up about, that you didn't get, Jennifer Coolidge didn't want to collaborate with you or whatever it was. It was fun to do, but I also think it's like, I reckon that's a regular exercise I should get into. And having like a creative manifesting sparring partner like Jason, or just anyone that's, an actor, performer, creative, would be a really, really great exercise. It ties into the kind of French learning thing that I was talking about, the deep end learning that is the struggle of real humans, real time. But there's almost nothing that can replace it. Duolingo on the learning app gives you these AI-based, characters that you can kind of interact with. And it's brilliant because they respond in real time. If they ask you, what do you sell a lot of things? And you say, I sell a lot of dolls. Then they'll say like, oh, okay. Are they dolls from when you were young? Like, it's able to roll with the conversation. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. But it's never, ever, ever going to be able to replace the kind of real-time human kind of, millions of things that are happening in between every breath, word, everything that we're saying, that our body is understanding, but our mind is still probably catching up to, or may never catch up to. It's just like watering us on the, it's just soaking into the kind of deep unconscious of our psyche, but then results in us being able to just have sensations like, oh, I really trust this person, or I like them, or I don't trust them, or I'm suspicious, or I'm in love, or whatever, like there's so many things happening beyond the words in their very limited kind of containers that they hold our feelings and emotions in. So I just really like the role play. That's all I was saying. And as an actor, that shouldn't come as any surprise to me, the power of role play. And yet I took such great delight, and I'm really going to hang on to that probably till the next meeting, until I say again, like, oh, can we do that again? Because I think it's silly, but it's actually really important. And it's much more real, and it involves much less self-doubt than sitting down. For me, in my way, it might be different from everyone, but it involves much less self-doubt than doing a collage and on an A3 piece of cardboard where you're cutting out your goals and sticking them on a vision board kind of thing, and maybe, being like, oh, yeah, I'd like a nice house. I don't know if this house from this magazine is nice, but yeah, I could maybe something like that. Like there's such confidence in in it. And I really believe in the mantra of faking it till you make it as well. It's served me so well in so many situations. And I think it needs to be used with caution, but it's still really good. So the just last thing that I wanted to say about the birthday tax speed run too is that it sends me into sort of connected to, again, some of the things. I'm not consciously trying to like pedantically tie all of the kind of themes and random, slop that comes up in these talks to camera together. But really, there's some big things that float around in my head that I don't know if I can even confidently make sense of yet, that are about performance, content, media, art, curated art that is completely uncurated. Like, it's really interesting, the idea that, like, okay, again, I was talking to Jason Christ, I should just have him on, like, there'd just be a podcast. But the idea of, like, when people are watching you, say for like even any portion of a TikTok live stream that is 8 hours and that you're sharing, you're doing your tax with, and they're giving their time to you, there's more than money, more than anything else, the most finite resource we have is time. And the fact that people are willing to hand over their time, their focus, their time to you, to be with you, to support. And then on top of that, some of them, some people even supporting via money. Thanks so much. See Linktree for Buy Me a Coffee link if you would like to support. Is incredible. It's incredible because if you were watching something for 1 hour, 2 hours online, you could be watching any Academy Award winning film ever. There's access. We all know how we could access that. And if we don't know how to pirate something for a service we don't know, we know someone we could talk to about how to pirate something. There's libraries. There's still a Blockbuster Video in Bend, Oregon. So but the point I'm just trying to make is, like, the fact that someone, and they haven't said, is the Shawshank Redemption more worthy of my time than Kyle doing tax from 2017 to 2018 financial year? No, of course not. There's a convenience factor. There's the fact that people might just be, doing their own taxes at the same time. There's a fact that, someone might be, it's just a helpful background noise, all of those things. But still at the same time, it's like, no one has to do that. I still have to do my taxes regardless of if anyone's looking. So just the privilege that is people choosing you and choosing to watch your stuff, choosing to watch more than 1 second, choosing to watch more than 3 seconds. It's really, truly starting to bend my mind inside out, because I think about it really starts to get down to this idea of, like, what is performance? And I had counseling maybe last year or the year before last, and it was about how I felt like I really wanted to cancel a show that I was in. I can't remember if I talked about it on here or live, but the show Oyster Boy, it sort of, it broke me in many ways. And there's things that I sort of liked about it or had potential, but overall just felt deeply dissatisfied with the show that was unfinished and underdeveloped. And, like Liz and I put that together with so little money at every step of the way, and working so much more on it than we got paid for ever, even though it had toured in multiple states and had lots of people come to it collectively. And yet the effort and output of doing a show like that, don't even worry about the time it takes to learn lines, source props, money spent driving, flying, grant funding, festival applications, marketing, self-producing, pitching at showcase events, all of that, like drawing up contracts, individual, like, it's so involved. But don't even worry about that. The time spent emotionally crying backstage, the time spent long-winded voice memos to friends being like, I so don't believe in myself right now. And the time spent asking other friends. I even approached someone else at one point to say, could you perform this show? I really don't want to. And before I went to do the Melbourne season at Gasworks, I went to see a counsellor just to, I guess, see if that could help move anything around it. And then it was really good. It went down to a place of like, why am I performing? And I think what was hard was to acknowledge that probably at the core, right at the core, is a desire to be seen, a desire to be heard, a desire to reclaim maybe time unnoticed or unacknowledged in childhood. And that's a confronting kind of conclusion to come to, because once you sort of acknowledge that, and it feels as true as it does feel, it starts to be the thing that cuts through any self-talk that might involve trying to convince yourself that, oh, I do this because I am passionate about sharing stories, which is also true, or I do this because I just have to create, I'm an artist or whatever. Yeah, I guess that might be true too. Or like, I love to make people laugh. Yes, also true, but I have to say probably deeper, more overwhelmingly at the top priority is this feeling of like, I just want to be, I sort of really, really just want, ultimately there's probably just a child there kind of screaming out saying, love me, acknowledge me, tell me I'm okay. Tell me that it's okay for people to look at me. And I think all of those things can be true. It doesn't make me it is clarifying and being like, yeah, why am I putting myself through something so torturous like that Oyster Boy show where I don't want to continue it, or I don't want to continue it, or it's probably healthier for me just to walk away and cancel it. And I think it makes sense in those moments to be like, well, probably you're just wrestling with some unresolved trauma and you need to do something about that other than walking on stage, making shows. But at the same time, I think, so it's clarifying and being like, yeah, okay, don't, yeah. But I still feel like this move away from theatre and the difficulty that is trying to get people into a real-time, real space venue is just so much less interesting than the magic of the internet and this magical portal that I talk to that then somehow has your magical eyes and magical ears listening to it. So I don't know, it's just kind of mind-bending and amazing. And yeah, I think I don't know, is there anything else to say? I think that I really think, okay, let me just pull it together for this last statement. I think I know I'm going to cry, so I'm just not going to fight it. I always cry when I tell this story, which is just one particular. I think that was a tricky thing yesterday on the live, is that looking back over 11 years of your life in month by month detail, where everything is documented from lots of different, just all assets of life. Sometimes it's really hard to just be like, smile at the screen and keep talking, even though there's like wildly emotionally fueled moments in the calendar. But I think back to my, I think about my nephew, who at the time when I was visiting, this is years ago, was maybe only like 3 or 4 years old, maybe 4 or 5, and visiting in the lounge room, and he was doing a kind of like magic show or play and coming in and out and sort of doing entrances. And that's like my favorite kind of play, right, with kids, is like to amp up them in their creative flow state of just like, who knows where this is going, but we'll just keep riding it out. And then him just at like the height of his powers, really. And uh, I remember my brother so clearly just being like, "Oh, don't be a little show off. Like, stop it. Like, calm down. No one's impressed. Like, don't be a show off." And I watched him react in that moment, as is the kind of punitive anger kind of based parenting strategy that I've watched my brother use for many years. I watched my nephew kind of like shrink to the size of expectation and be like, yeah, like, you know, this instant shame over like something that I, as the adult, was encouraging, but ultimately the direct family unit wins out, right? In being like, shush, 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 shush. don't, don't risk it. Don't embarrass yourself. And you know, it doesn't take anyone over the age of much more older than 40 to be like, Kyle, I think that's more about you. Maybe the child was being annoying. Yeah, probably too. But I couldn't help but, narcissistically align myself with him and be like, oh, I feel that in every cell of my body that I'm looking at myself as a child. And, yeah, I think that's a large part of like what drives me to perform on an unconscious level, probably. But then I don't think, even though that might come from quite a selfish or shallow place, or reactive, I still think it's not a bad thing, and I still think ultimately, like, performance and like art and storytelling has been the thing that's like saved me throughout my life. Yeah. Thank you for watching.